My role model is Didier Drogba. Why? It's because he's African like me, and also he's represented the nation, the continent really well. I always remember looking up to him, signing for Chelsea, coming into the Premier League, scoring loads of goals, and I always wondered who was he. So when I looked deep into him, I found out that he was an amazing person. He does a lot of charitable work. He looks after his own nation. He goes a lot back home and does a lot for charities, which this inspired me myself to go back and play for my country, Burundi. I've managed to do that, and we've also made history by qualifying for the first time ever for African Cup. So for me, this was a proud moment, and thanks for Drogba, my dream came true for playing back home.
My role models are Mike Tyson and my father. First of all, I want to start with Mike Tyson. I think he's a great fighter, or was a great fighter and a great person as well. And what I really admire about him is his growth. He went to a very little insecure boy, was beaten on the streets by several other kids, with to face like racism during his career and these kind of things. Yeah, one of the best fighters ever.
My role model is the Brazilian Pelé. I think growing up especially, his autobiography was one of the first books that I wanted to read besides the ones you got from school. And just about his upbringing in his early years, kind of how he came from literally nothing. I remember reading that he never had money even for a football. He used to, I think they used to stuff socks with paper, and that was how he kind of, learned to play the game. Yeah, I never really looked at him as, that representation of a black guy, if you like, on the world stage. I was just more intrigued about his upbringing and how football kind of was his life, and the dedication he gave to it was something that I could relate to as a kid growing up.
First and foremost, my parents, my mum and dad. Mum especially, everything she's done for me, just setting a good example as a parent. I've seen how hard she worked first and foremost to make sure that, obviously I've got one older brother, one older sister, that everyone was catered for and had what we needed.
I'd say my role models are mainly my mother. From young, she's brought me up to live in a certain type of culture, as in the music we listen to, food, the history she's taught me, and certain things and morals behind certain things. As I said, that's helped me a lot to be the person I am today, as in who I am, the position I am. It's all from my mum, really.
So my role model or role models are mother, father, granddad, grandparents, sisters, brothers, aunties, and that's the reason why they are, is because they've all played a part in where I am today. Whether that's to get me to training after school, it was taking 1.5 hours for me to get to training. And my mum was working or my dad was working, so they've all sacrificed, and at times that was my sister, sometimes it was my brother, sometimes it was my auntie, etc. So that's direct to me.
And obviously my dad, growing up, also I wanted to be a footballer, and my dad, fortunately, he was a player as well, and seeing where he come from a little village in Nigeria, making it across into Europe, and it's something that growing up I thought, it was a bit before my time, but it was massive. Seeing what he's done and all the community work he's done back in Nigeria. So for me, he's someone I've always looked up to.
My father, he teach me as a young kid what to believe in humans and what not to believe, how you can trust certain people and how you can trust them, and also to be, also trying to be the best version of yourself. Try to be kind to everyone, to help everyone. And I think also the very important thing he learned me is that, how you want to be treated by someone else, you have to treat the other person as well. So these kind of things are very important to me to this day.
I think as I've got older and kind of educated myself as well, role models change and differ, and the perspective of a role model changes. I mean, I look back to, again, my upbringing, and my granddad was from the West Indies, Jamaica, and came over in the Windrush generation. So for me, educating myself on that was something that opened my eyes to the amount of sacrifice they made for themselves, for a better life, coming to a different country. And obviously without that, I wouldn't be here today. My mum would never have met my dad and things. So I think looking at that in a football perspective, you see modern Britain and how many, black players are represented in the England squad today. And I think a lot of that does stem from the Windrush generation.
We have spokesmen like Akala. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's a person who's actually British, and he speaks a lot of information and has a lot of knowledge. So I look up to people like that who are spreading information. So he's a good one to look forward to.
And also in school, learning, growing up, just doing research about all the big figures in terms of like Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, Muhammad Ali, just the stories that they've done. So I find it all interesting, and they're all kind of people that I look up to.
Mansa Musa, if you've ever heard of him, very back in the day, 14th century empire of the Mali Empire. He was royalty, and what he used to do is give to charities in West Africa, and he built libraries and schools.
Andrew Watson as well. Not many people know that name, obviously. If anybody wants to Google about him, he was the first black man to play professionally and to play for Scotland as well, which ties into something I can relate to, representing Scotland.